My name is Samuel Reid. I am from Houston, Texas, and I graduated from a performing arts high school, the High School for the Performing and Visual Arts. Chandra Wilson from Grey's Anatomy graduated from there. Grammy nominated pianist Robert Glasper graduated from there. So, for at least for the city of Houston, it's a school that is known to foster talent. And from there, I went on to get my bachelor's from USC, from the Thornton School of Music. I just graduated in May of 2020. I just think every day, especially going through COVID, I've been relying on music. So that kind of fuels my drive for it and my love for it because when all these things are stripped away in society, you can't see the people you know, you can't hang out with the people that, are in the same city as you. You learn to depend on things, and music was one of them and continues to be one of them um, for me. I started originally with piano playing classical music when I was about 6 or 7 years old, and I studied classical music every Sunday up until I graduated from high school. So it's definitely a big part of my beginning as a musician and the foundation of my technique and pedaling and all the things that you learn when starting with classical music. And throughout middle school, I joined the jazz band, and there was a faculty member. His name was Mr. Craig Green, and you just talk about like an upstanding African American man who held himself to the highest of regards and expected his students to treat his classroom with respect as well. Um, and he just made learning jazz very serious for me. I think also if I gained a real friend in middle school, Jerome Gillespie, who I'm still friends with, who is a drummer, and together, we just started listening to jazz and thinking about and speaking about among us why we feel so close to it and why we feel like we relate to it. And then that just developed into high school. And for me, the classical versus jazz thing, I mean, I think classical music is essential and I love it. I love listening to it. I will say I respect every classical musician because it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy art, to play well. Um, and one of the things that I started to think about when I started to fall in love with jazz a little bit more and the freeness of it, I just started asking myself, I was like, if I want to start playing concerts, for a certain span of my life, do I want to be remembered for playing someone else's music? Like there are obviously great contemporary classical artists and composers, but um, there was just and there was just something there where I just wanted to have the chance to create something and be known for something that was mine. And then, I mean, you just talk about the levels of risks that you take when playing jazz music. It's astounding. I mean, at least to play the music at a high level, your ears are expected to be at a certain state where whatever is happening around you, you can latch onto it. You can try to push it forward or build momentum with it. Something about having to perform something this way didn't relate to me after a certain point when I was playing jazz because I was like, wait, these musicians are remembered for what they came up with on the spot. And something about that daring factor of that made jazz something that I just it's so fun to learn how to get to that point to try to play well. So I just fell in love with that. So I was contacted by Justin Gilmore, who I think it's his project, trumpeter, and I graduated from SE, like I said, in May of 2020. But I known Justin while I was there and connected with him, and we were friends. And he asked me to do it, so I played. My cousin Paul Cornish played piano on it as well, and I played the other half. And Justin just split up the tracks between us. Listen, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it was easy. Oh man, I mean, to do something like this where there's so many intricate parts and we're in different cities and it has to be done virtually. At times it made the process challenging. I took the attitude that if it's going to be cleanest, it has to be one take. So that in itself offers obstacles that you run into. Mary Lou Williams, I really grew to have a deep respect for her and admiration for her composition style because to be responsible for these 12 suites, they don't sound the same. The harmony isn't shared, but you know what I'm saying? Like she went above and beyond what you would expect from, and I looked at like 1944, 1945, like that range where she composed when she composed this. And here I am decades later struggling to read what she wrote. So it just shows the level of musicianship that she had. And yeah, it's I'm excited to see everything come together. Justin sent a playlist of the songs, and I didn't really do my part in like researching who she was. I was just kind of like, what's the sheet music? What's the tempo? How hard is it going to be? Do I need to memorize? Do I need to memorize certain sections? So I just kind of bypassed that at first. But then, in between takes and in between just even recording, you take breaks. And I just looked up who she was. And, the pieces aren't easy. Like, they're not just like swing, 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 just like super constant, this, that, bounce, bounce, like the piano parts are intricate. And when I was reading them, I could tell this isn't coming from someone who doesn't know how to write on a high level. Like even the concepts and the names of the because I think it's Aries and Leo. You can see how the pieces interact with the names of the songs, and she was just a pioneer. With this production and with this group, I was constantly calling the other musicians. This wasn't something where it was so isolated, where I was just on my own. So I was constantly calling the bass player, like, hey, how did you get through this part? Or could you tell me how this section, how you recorded over that? So uh, there was still communication between all the musicians. And in this time, I miss being in LA and being around everybody that is a part of this production. And so to be able to have something that it's like when I call this person, it's like, yeah, we're talking about this, we can connect about this and we can spend time diving into this. It's nice. It was nice. Just like a deeper connection with the other musicians. Well, here's the thing. It's like when you're in this environment and COVID is around you, none of us are prepared to deal with, you know what I'm saying? Like how life is supposed to go on, how regular things that we thought were always supposed to happen in this way are not going to happen in that way anymore. And for the musician, and especially myself, I did 4 years or whatever, 3 years and whatever the last 2 months were COVID. I was back here, but I did most of that time in person. So, interacting face to face with my instructors, interacting with the other musicians, playing live performances, driving here and there. And for that, I had to have a set of skills, you know. So it's like I need to be able to, if there's an acoustic piano, I need to make sure I shed and practice playing on an acoustic piano so I know how that feels and be comfortable with that. If I'm playing an R&B set or if I'm playing an acoustic set, I need to be prepared on playing my electric keyboard and the sounds that I need to prepare. When COVID happened and I came home, there's things going on around you all the time. You know, it's not like a school environment where specifically at USC, there's Gateway where, for example, I can go, you're in a secluded room, there's no sound around you except what you're creating and what you're trying to work on. And so when I'm home now, I'm using my keyboard. I have to use Logic, um, which is like a music production software. And it's not that it's so foreign of a program where it's like I have to learn a new set of skills, but it's just that, you're challenged to kind of convert the way that you play or think about playing on an acoustic piano to now playing only on electric. It teaches you what you didn't know. That's what I would say. Like being in this environment, it taught me what I didn't know and what I needed to brush up on that I had kind of let my mind drift from because I was used to playing music one way or two ways or three ways. But being tested in this time, brings the creative out of you in a different way. Yeah, I'll say this. I mean, as as a person of the in the music community and just as a human, I know we're all going through something, whether it's a family member coming down with COVID or, something else. Everybody's going through something and struggling through something. And I would just say that music for me, it quiets down the pain and the numbness that I kind of or I think a lot of people go through on a daily basis when thinking about everything that's going on in the world on top of the virus, the pandemic. Um, so I would just say I'm just grateful to be a part of something that gave me time to think about something outside of a lot of the nonsense that is happening around. My mom is in the healthcare services as a nurse, and so she's been on the front lines of COVID from day one. So it's been a troubling and struggling time, but I hope that when this piece comes together and the time and effort that all the people and the team put towards this piece sounding great will bring joy to people's lives. So yeah, that's it.